Hi, and welcome to this tutorial on the ARMS Sensitivity Workspace. This is a replica of the job that writes down sensitivity stress tests to the database, where you can set your own sensitivity shifts on risk factors and get results. So you choose your portfolio as usual, what you want to simulate, and then you can add the stress that you want to add to risk factors. So the simplest way is just adding them to all classifications, or you can use a classification type. So we can set 1%, and then we have a 1% bump to all risk factors. And we can actually continue there. So we can take a 2%, and we can also take a minus 1% and a minus 2 for. So we now have a little grid of sensitivities that we want to calculate, and we can now just go down and set the date we want to have and press run. And we can see that we get 4 shifts for all risk factors. So now the calculation is done, so now we can move to the next page, and here we can check out our results. So we can now have either our shifts in one column, or we can have one column per shift. And as we had 4 different shifts, we can see that we had the 1% and 2% up and down shifts. So for each row, we see the net effect of a shift to that risk factor. So for each risk factor that our entire portfolio sensitive to, we get all the risk factor change for the whole book. And down here in the bottom half, you get per position and risk factor. So here you're on the most granular level that's available to you. It's per each position per risk factor, and you get the sensitivity shifts. And you have some settings. You can also then get one column per shift, and you can get the percentage changes, and you can get both if you want both. And from here you can also print to CSV file by adding a file name and printing. And you can also set the rounding, so if we don't want any decimals, we can remove the decimals from this. You can also do some more stuff. So let's go back and let's start over. Let's remove the shifts. And we can now look at making a shift that's historical. So we can go down here and have no shifts set, but we use a historic shift. So we take the risk factors changes from date to date, and then we calculate this. So we have a risk factor shift. This is an actual market movement, and then we look for the effects of this per risk factor on the portfolio. So then we can go back again, and now it's suitable to have one shift column, and then we can see again per risk factor we get the total effects to the portfolio. This is the net effect for that risk factor. So in order to find the biggest contributions, we can double click on the header, and then we get a sort, and then the third click, it goes back to non-sorted. So we can see here that, for instance, the 30-year swap rate that went up this much, it contributed to minus 26,000 standalone stress on the entire portfolio. So this is a fast way to run and check sensitivities, where you can also save your stress as a config file, and you can then re-import this little stress grid that you've created. That's it. Thank you very much.